Boston is in the midst of a building boom with thousands of new luxury units slated for construction over the next 3 years. But is the boom in high-end developments a bust for the city's middle class? Mayor Marty Walsh says he's committed to balancing the ambitions of developers with the needs of struggling communities, a task that now falls to his new BRA chief, John Barrows. He recently took WGBH News' Philip Martin on a tour to explain how.
This is Roxbury, John Barrows' old neighborhood.
You know the area, and this is an area that we've done a lot of work over the years on.
He once led development efforts in this struggling community as head of the Dudley Neighborhood Initiative.
A lot of this has come into fruition.
But now John Barrows has a much wider portfolio as head of the Boston Redevelopment Authority, the BRA, and it will be his job to push economic projects like the Ferdinand Building in the heart of Dudley Square.
This building behind us, which is an amazing architectural feat, is also the signal, the physical signal that cannot be overstated about the city's commitment to this area. And people know 500 employees coming to Ferdinand Building is going to be really important for any kind of commercial development in this area.
As head of the city's most powerful development agency, he now has the power to do what he has long advocated for, and he knows all eyes are on him.
You know, as we come to the neighborhoods, I feel the pressure to make sure that I'm trying to be the best partner that I can be and bring all that I can bring to it to help move this forward.
Barrows takes me on a tour to show just how fast Roxbury is changing.
People are excited. They know what it means for this neighborhood. They know what it means for the signal of where this neighborhood's going.
On this lot, a 5-story hotel is in the planning stages.
The hotel draws from the south end. It draws from Northeastern and the Longwood medical area. It draws from Dudley. And then it benefits from the ability to be right here in line with the cars that are exiting and entering 93.
And on this lot, a supermarket is being built.
Tropical Foods is a local grocery store, been serving this area for a couple of decades now, and we have the opportunity to support a new development that is going to house a brand new location for that grocery store with greater footage.
But a lot of folks in Roxbury are concerned that new development will also push up rents and drive out local businesses. It's something that Barrows knows all too well. He points to the Whittier housing project scheduled for demolition.
Most of it will be torn down and built new, with the commitment to not displace one resident. Everyone will have the opportunity, and the unit will be provided for them to come back.
But that commitment to affordability will be a much greater challenge in other neighborhoods like the Seaport District, where sweeping views of the harbor come at a high price.
That view?
That view.
Absolutely. That's not
middle-income people.
We need to make sure that all neighborhoods are accessible in the city. You know, middle-income families, different income ranges should be able to afford that view.
Touted as the city's innovation district, Barrows says he wants entrepreneurs of little means to be able to live here too.
These are the 50 innovation units where you're going to have affordability here on site, right? And that's exactly what we want to see more of it.
And Barrows says 10 years from now, he sees the Seaport District and the Dudley area having more in common.
Both neighborhoods in their own right will be innovation districts. And so as this neighborhood is developed, so Dudley will.
Philip Martin, WGBH News.
All right, here to talk more about the city's ambitious development goals. Richard Taylor is a developer and former Roxbury resident who now teaches at Suffolk University. Now that development is finally picking up in Dudley Square. You know, I remember, Richard, 30 years ago when I first got to Boston, we were talking about the Ferdinand Building. And here we are finally just getting it going. But as Philip said in his report, it is a double-edged sword because the more development that comes to a community, the more higher-end things start coming, and there's concern about affordability.
Frankly, I think we have a much longer way to go to balance all of the low-income housing that is right around the immediate radius of Dudley. So I don't see that as a threat, a early threat. But what I do think is important is that this was public investment. We now must have private investment. And so the land, the vacant land that is there, the policies around micro units and opportunities to bring workforce housing and low-income, moderate-income housing to stay in Dudley, I think will still be there if the development policy is focused on for the private sector.
Is there a lot of interest? Is there a lot of buzz around that area now?
The problem is that in order to attract private investment and lenders, you're going to have to be able to get in on the land at a reasonable price, and the public land will allow that. There's also a need for parking in Dudley. That has not solution has not been resolved. So there are a number of factors that can take place over the next 3 to 5 years before I'd be concerned about gentrification.
All right, I want to bring another voice into the conversation. Ed Glazer is a professor of economics at Harvard's Kennedy School. Welcome. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So this is an issue that communities, not just in Boston, all over America are facing as neighborhoods become more and more gentrified. I mean, they're starting to look all alike, frankly, which is scary, I think, to us Bostonians, because we like our little pockets. Right. But this whole idea that the more gentrification, the more you've got, it's a struggle. It's keeping lower income people in the neighborhoods that they want to be in.
It is a struggle, but the thing to remember is that it's not the supply itself that's the problem. Providing new units is a way to make places more affordable, not less affordable. And the best way to make sure that everyone can afford to live in Boston is to unleash the cranes, particularly in the waterfront area and other places. I mean, if you want to see what preservation does to affordability, look at Greenwich Village in New York, a place which when the affordability, when historic preservation was being advocated as a solution for affordability, that was affordable for middle-income people. Now 10 houses start at $8 million, right? Freezing a city in amber isn't the right strategy. The right strategy is to allow change, and I think that's very much what the administration is about, what the Walsh administration is favoring.
Politically, do you see John Barrows having a fine line to walk here? I mean, clearly he's been an advocate for the Dudley Square area for a long, long time, but now he's everybody's BRA guy.
Well, what I think John brings in spades is he has the neighborhood experience. Yeah. Having headed up DSNI and frankly having run for mayor and moved around in all of the neighborhoods, I think he has the confidence of the neighborhood residents as opposed to someone who may have been more familiar with the downtown markets. So I think he brings, a broad swath of knowledge and confidence that people have that if John says this land can be used for this, I think people will give him the benefit of the doubt and let it play out.
One of the issues, and I think Richard alluded to, is this, forget parking. We've got a basic transportation issue. I mean, even the Seaport area, I was driving around there the other day because how else was I going to get there? I was amazed at the percentage of acreage that's undeveloped there. It just seems incredible that there's that much left. And yet I'm thinking, if I hadn't driven over there, right?
Yeah. What Dudley Square has going for it is it is, in fact, the largest bus hub in Boston. The Silver Line has been a phenomenal success by almost any measure. And while it's important for us to keep our rail network strong, buses really are an incredibly effective tool for moving people over space, cost effective, and they can be a whole lot cooler than they currently are. So I think that's when we think about sort of Dudley and other areas, we need to sort of make sure that at least the bus network, as well as maintaining rail, the bus network continues to grow, both in terms of its quality and also its quantity.
You've struck on something controversial right then and there, is those buses, those enormous, some of them are tour buses, but the bus is out of control. The number of buses already in downtown, they're not necessarily taking people from point A to point B, they're touring them around. There's tons of them. I was running into those while I was driving around the other day. So it's almost like people are licensing things bits and pieces at a time, and you wonder if, especially in the transportation area, if somebody has an overall good look
No,
at
it's
it.
true. It's true. And there's no way to sort of fit this much traffic on these few streets and actually make things work. But you need to have just a smarter transportation policy that makes sure that we're using those streets efficiently. And I think buses should be part of that solution.
I think also if you think about the Fairmont line, for example, 4 new stations in the Dorchester-Mattapan area that have vacant land around them, ripe for workforce, middle-income housing. Again, those lands need to be available for private developers and local neighborhood development corporations to go in at a low price, build the housing so it can be rented or purchased affordably, and then recapture the purchase price on the back end. So there's a lot of land around our orange line and our red line and our now purple line that need to be addressed.
Who owns it now?
The MBTA.
Ah.
The MBTA land. Forest Hills has some new development. Jackson Square has just seen some new development around the MBTA on land. So a lot of opportunity there for retail as well.
It's the Hong Kong model. Remember, Hong Kong pays for its public transit by having their transit people build up around stops. It's actually a great way of thinking about providing more public transit services, is connecting it with development.
Getting us out of that $8 billion debt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would it help if they...
Absolutely. And I take the Orange Line quite a bit. And if you just look at Back Bay Station, there's probably another 10,000 square feet of retail space that could be built out and rented very easily. And I think if you look at the stations, you could probably have a special purpose bond, Ed, for the retail revenue coming in to pay down some of that debt.
Well, get on it. All right, great discussion. Richard Taylor, Ed Glazer, thanks so much.